Hello, friends. Hello and welcome. Welcome to yours and mine Cozy Corner. My name is Amanda, and on this channel, we talk about books, and more books. Well, hello, friends. So, as you can tell from the title of the video, this is going to be my May 2026 reading wrap up. So, for the month of May, I read a total of 5 books. And, guys, I have my journal here that I'm going to read from. But, yeah, it was a total of 5 books with an average rating of 3.7. I mentioned this in the last video that I made. I feel like I'm not getting like really good reads. Like, you know how you have some months where it just seems like, oh my goodness, every book is just kind of hitting. Um, I feel like the last few months, everything has been just kind of, eh, so that's a little disappointing. However, out of the 5 books that I read this month, there was one that really stood out and I enjoyed tremendously. And because I enjoyed that book so much, and it was the first book that I read in May, I am going to make a separate video for that book. Now, it's not going to be a deep dive because when I do like the deep dive videos, I'm giving spoilers and I just really want to take my time and really get into the book. This one, when I do the separate video, it won't be an actual it won't be any spoilers in the book, but I just want to spend more time in talking about it. And I just think that it deserves to have its own video. So with that being said, I'm going to skip past the first book that I read in May and I'm going to go to the second book. So the second book that I read in May, this is Leaving Atlanta by Tayari Jones. This is a coming of age story of 3 young Black children set against the backdrop of the Atlanta child unaliving of 1979. Now, overall, I thought this book was good and I would recommend it. This is the first book that I read by this author, and I did enjoy it. Her writing was easy to follow, and she really captured the time period. So, this book, it did not focus on the investigation or any of the major details from that time period. It mostly focused on the 3 children, like I said earlier, the coming of age story of Tasha, Rodney, and Octavia. If you are wanting to read more about the vanishing and the unaliving of the 29 children that took place during that 2 year nightmare, you won't find that in this book. But what you will find, if you are an 80s baby, like nostalgia, this book brought back so many memories that had long been forgotten. The manner in which the author wrote felt as if she was taking some of my personal childhood events and stories, and I mean, just placing it in the book. Like she was hitting the nail on the head with the things that she talked about in this book. And it actually made me kind of forget how cruel children can be. But as I was reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. Yep, I had a mean girl like that in school. Yeah, there was them kind of girls here too. Yep, I remember that guy. It's like everything was nostalgic. I mean, the language she used, the TV shows she referenced, even the name of the candy. I have forgotten about some of this stuff. So it was just like I said, it was like a lightning jolt to my soul while reading this, and it felt good and it made me smile. But knowing that this book revolved around such tragic events did make me extremely sad. And I do plan to do some research into the story just to educate myself. But again, that nightmare of the vanishing and the unaliving of those 29 children is absolutely horrific. So, again, you won't find any of that information in the story, nothing about the trial, nothing about the person who was charged. It's just going to be the story of the coming of age of those 3 children that I mentioned. But like I said, overall, I think that it was a good book. Now, the next book that I read is Bring Me Back by B.A. Paris. And this is a psychological suspense thriller. So we have Finn and Layla, who are this couple. They're driving back from a holiday in France when Finn pulls into a service station, leaves Layla in the car, alone. And when he returns, she's gone. And that's where, we start from. Overall, I thought the book was okay. This is the third book that I read by this author. And I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit disappointing to me. I mean, I was able to predict the plot, and that in itself wasn't a major issue. I truly believe that at this point, I may have read just so many thrillers that it's becoming harder to surprise me. But again, that's not a major issue for me unless I can predict all of these things from like chapter one. Then that would be a huge problem. Now, I am able to suspend my disbelief when reading most of the time. However, there's no way that I could do that in the particular scenario that was presented in this book. And unfortunately, I can't tell you what that scenario is because if I did, I think that would ruin the book for you. And I don't want to do that. I also did not feel anything for the characters in the book. I wasn't able to relate to any of them, and truly, it made no difference to me, what happened to them one way or the other. But I also have to admit, I think I am guilty of knowing how great Behind Closed Doors was. Now, Behind Closed Doors was the first book that I ever read by B.A. Paris. And I mean, she knocked that one out of the park. And I think I was wishing and hoping that the same thing happened with this book. And I know that is unfair to compare different works, even though they're by the same author, you know, but it's difficult not to, because a lot of times when we read a great book by an author, it makes us want to go and read more of their work because we are expecting, to kind of get like the same feels or something that's better. So when things don't kind of hit from that author, it's like, it's disappointing. And like I said, I know it's difficult not to compare. And I said I was working on that. I don't think I'm doing a good job of it. But, you know, like I said, it's it was okay. It's just Behind Closed Doors was just absolutely great. Now, one positive thing that I can say about this book is that it definitely was a quick, easy read. So I'm not certain how many books that this author have written. Like I said, this is the third book that I've read, but I definitely still look forward to reading more books by B.A. Paris. I do enjoy her writing style. I just think this one just wasn't it. And unfortunately, every book is just not going to be a hit. That's just the reality. And especially when you read as many books as I do. Now, this is a book that I wouldn't necessarily just go out and recommend this book, but if this is a book that's, like, say, on your TBR list and you haven't read a lot of thrillers, I say read it. I think that you could possibly enjoy this book. Like, it's don't and I think I'm making the book sound horrible. It is not horrible by any means at all. It is a decent book. I just think, like, if I was going to recommend someone read something from her, the first book I would recommend is Behind Closed Doors. But I don't think that this is bad. And again, if you have not read a lot of thrillers, I think that you could enjoy this. Because to be honest, I think you probably can get something out of every book. I have yet to read any books where I'm just like, this book is trash. I didn't get nothing from it. Blah, blah, blah. I've never had that happen. Now, I've had one book that I can think of this year that I was like, this book is just, ugh. I did not like it, but I still was able to get something, even if it's, a very minute point. I'm still able to get something. So, anyway, moving on. All right. So, the next book that I read is Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Kurian. This is a thriller, mystery, suspense novel. And I also want to say that I read somewhere it was considered dark academia. I don't know if that's correct because I cannot say I'm any kind of expert on dark academia, but anywho, I read that somewhere. But what we have here is Chloe. Chloe is a freshman honor student. Um, so she and six other DC based college students are in this clinical study for psychopaths. So, yes, Miss Chloe is an absolute psychopath. And in the study, what ends up happening is that one of them is found unalive. So Chloe has her own agenda that she's trying to take care of. But then once this unaliving happens, she has to decide, do I stay focused and, you know, take care of what I intended to take care of, or, do I halt? Because now I've gone from being the hunter to the prey. So that's where we started in this book. Overall, I thought this was a really good book and I absolutely would recommend it. Now, this book, to my knowledge, is not considered a YA novel. However, it still felt that way to me. And that's not a dig or not to say anything that's bad, because even though I'm not the biggest YA fan, I do enjoy a good YA book. I just think maybe it feels that way to me because of the age, because most of them, again, are like freshman college students. But if you enjoy YA books, I think that you would definitely enjoy this one. This is also the first book that I've ever read by this author, and I do look forward to reading more by her. I found that the book was easy to read. I enjoyed her writing style, and I also could be completely wrong, but I think she had done her research on psychopaths. And if she did, some of the, tips and stuff I found in there was definitely be useful, will definitely be useful in the future if I ever run across a psychopath. And would I even know it? Um, I also enjoy getting to know the different personalities of, the people in the book. But honestly, I couldn't relate to them, nor did I really care about, the personal outcome, their personal outcome at all. But again, it was nice to get to it, see their different personalities and how they interact with one another. But the one thing I did leave this book thinking about is, for one, how many psychopaths or sociopaths have we encountered in life and just didn't know that that was their diagnosis? And if we and we, meaning I'm asking this question to you guys, so put this in the comments, let me know if you met a person, or if you, I don't know, if you have and I don't just mean like a relationship wise, I mean you meet a person, whether it's friendships or even if it's a family members, if you know they have a diagnosis, and I don't know that the diagnosis is sociopath or psychopath. Like, I don't know that they use that language anymore. I think they say something like anti personality disorder, something like that. Don't quote me on it. You have to double check. I don't know for certain what they're called. But if you know that a person has that diagnosis, do you think that you can develop a relationship with them? And if so, how do you think that relationship will pan out with a person who lacks empathy and compassion? And I believe the lack of empathy and compassion is one of the traits that is used to diagnose that anti-personality disorder. But again, I could be wrong. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. But just a question I'm wondering. Now, the next book that I read, which is actually, let me see. Yeah, this will be the last book, the fifth book that I read for May. And this is The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. And this, okay, let me give you just a quick synopsis of this book. we have Libby Jones, who basically she was adopted as an infant, and it is her 25th birthday, and she is soon going to find out who her birth parents are and, basically where she comes from. But not only that, she ends up inheriting this abandoned mansion, and it's in London in this fashionable neighborhood called Chelsea, and it's worth millions. And so everything in her life is about the change, but what she doesn't realize is that while she has been waiting all these years to find out, where she comes from and who her people are, there are others that have been waiting on her as well. So that's where we started in this book. Overall, I did think this book was good, and I would recommend it, but I am uncertain if I'm going to finish this series. Now, this is it's only two books. It's a duology. It's only two books. And to be fair, I started this book before I went on my vacation. And then I tried to read while I was on my vacation, which I don't know why, because when I'm on vacation, I usually don't read. But I read maybe two or three chapters. But the point is, I had this kind of start, stop thing that was happening with this book. And I feel like because of that, maybe the book kind of lost its momentum, and that's my fault for doing that. So I feel that part of me feels like, okay, well, just reread the book. But it's not as if the plot was lost on me. So a lot of times, if I say, well, I want to reread the book, not because the book was great, but I just want to reread it to see, maybe if I missed something, that's not the case. I'm thinking, okay, do I reread it just to see if, I feel the same way about it the first time, or if I just stop the momentum of the book. And then the other half of me is like, no, don't worry about reading it again because the plot wasn't lost on you. You know what happened in the book. Just go ahead and read the second book because, again, it's just a duology. So it won't take long to get through that. But it also didn't take very long to get through this book, or it would not have taken that long had I just read the book. So without all that starting and stopping. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Right now, I think I'm just going to stick a pin in this book and think about it. But I think I'm leaning more so on the side that I probably won't reread it and just read the second one. I don't know. What do you guys think I should do? I'm not certain. Well, anyway, guys, those are the 4 out of 5 books that I read for the month of May. Now, I am going to make a separate video on that other book, the one that I thought was just absolutely wonderful. Glad I started May off with that book, even though I don't feel like I had like the strong finish. I definitely enjoyed it, and I think it deserves its own video. So you're gonna see me with this same get up on, because once I finish this video, I'm gonna record that. But anyway, I hope you guys have stuck around with me. I thank you guys as always. Please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to watch the other video that I'm going to make. I won't call it a part 1 or a part 2 or, anything like that, but just make certain that you check that video out. And again, thank you guys for sticking around with me, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye.